What's up, everybody? We're back at it here in the cave. We're so close to getting it done and unveiling the new home studio to you, but we're not quite there yet. And today we're going to jump right into Brian Kohberger's motion to change venue. I've got my dad here with me. He's going to help me break it down. We're going to go through the entire thing. It's only like 2 pages. It's really short. But we're going to talk about what it takes in the way that Brian Kohberger and his team are asking to do, why they're asking to do it this specific way, to not necessarily move the trial, and what it takes to have something like this done in your case, and what reasons. Questions and put your questions in the comments if you have them. Give the video a like if you haven't already, and do not forget to subscribe. It's late tonight, Dad. This is one of the latest videos recorded.
Is this are we doing live?
No, it's not live. It's not live.
Oh, okay. Because I was saying this is late.
In the comments, no, not live. It's too late for me to do a live, but I wanted to get this in before the night was over so that we could post it tomorrow, Friday, February 2nd. It was filed 2 days ago. It looks like on the 30th. So to start off, before we read their change of venue, there are two different kinds of change of venues, right? You can either move location of the trial or get jurors from another location, right?
Right.
So what are the differences in those two, and how do you determine which one you're going to ask for?
Well, it's kind of a roll of the dice, and it's kind of the judge's call on that, because the burden is the same. The issue is you can't get a fair jury in that town. However, if you're talking about pretrial publicity and you're worrying about the pretrial publicity in that locale, bringing a jury into that locale still is a risk of getting that publicity, the bad publicity. So if it's the newspaper coverage and all the press sitting around the courthouse that you're worried about, then you're going to want to put it somewhere else. It's a roll of the dice. Again, the burden is the same. You're looking for a fair trial, and a fair trial either be people from another town coming in, or you go to another town.
So it doesn't really, there's nothing that really affects which way. It's just whichever way is going to be easiest, cheapest, cleanest, smoothest to accomplish your goal of getting a fair trial.
And I'm glad you said cheapest, because the judges really think about how much it's going to cost. That's really a real factor in how they do it.
All right, let's take a read. Can you see it?
Yes.
All right, motion for change of venue comes now. Brian C. Kohberger by and through his attorneys and hereby moves this court for a change of venue. By this motion, Brian requests a jury pool from outside Latah County. This motion is made pursuant to the 5th, 6th, 8th, and 14th Amendments to the United States Constitution, Article 1, Sections 1, 6, 7, 13, and 18 of the Idaho State Constitution, Idaho Code Rules, or Criminal Rules, Rule 21, and IC 19-1801. Motion for change of venue. A fair and impartial jury cannot be found in Latah County owing to the extensive inflammatory pretrial publicity, allegations made about Brian Kohberger to the public by media that will be inadmissible at his trial, the small size of the community, the salacious nature of the alleged crimes, and the severity of the crimes Mr. Kohberger faces. Enlarging the jury pool will not do anything to overcome that pervasive, prejudicial publicity, because Latah County does not have a large enough population to center to avoid the bias in the community. Further, the size of the community and the interconnectedness of its citizenry is problematic and will prevent a fair and impartial pool of potential jurors. Mr. Kohberger, by and through his counsel, requests an opportunity to be heard through evidentiary presentation and argument no sooner than the end of April 2024. So, a couple things. One thing that I noticed here is they say they are asking for a jury pool from outside Latah County. Okay? So that's what they say in this first paragraph. But then they say they need to enlarge the jury pool. So my question is, are they asking for nobody in Latah County to be called for jury duty, or are they asking for Latah County plus other counties?
No, I think what they're saying is that even if the judge enlarges the jury pool in Latah County, they still cannot get a fair trial. So they have to bring these people in, and they're going to exclude the Latah County people. Because that's the way that I think that their intent is. Exclude Latah County's people and bring a total jury pool from outside the county.
Okay, and it's interesting because I could read it both ways because Latah County does not have a large enough population. Does that mean on its own? But then if you look at the reasons why they want to change the venue, it seems like the interconnectedness of the citizenry is problematic, and that will prevent a fair and impartial jury from Latah County. And we can't forget that the University of Idaho is a big part of Latah County. We've heard that discussion in the timing of the trial and why we can't have it, why we need to have it in the summer. Both sides seem to agree on that. Now, which summer, 2024 or 2025, they disagree on, but it seems like it's more likely to be 2025. But because of the school having such an interconnectedness in the citizenry, a lot of people from the community went to the University of Idaho or have kids that go to the University of Idaho or some kind of a connection, work there, vendor there, whatever it may be. In a small town like that, it's a big part of the community.
Well, the town's economy depends on that university.
Go ahead. Sorry.
The town's economy depends on that university.
So to know that the victims were students of that university is very difficult to get the jury. So now I want to go one by one for their reasons for asking for a change of venue, and ask what you think in comparing this to other cases, maybe cases that we've had that have had a change of venue, or cases that you know of that have had a change of venue for certain reasons. So a fair and impartial jury can't be found. That's obviously the whole reason to change the venue. And the first is the inflammatory pretrial publicity.
Well, again, they didn't attach anything to this motion. They normally,
it seems like they want to bring some stuff for an evidentiary hearing in the future.
But normally, I got to tell you, in venue motions, normally you at least establish the prima facie case for what it is you're talking about. They normally attach tons of newspaper articles, all sorts of social media evidence would be attached as an exhibit, because on its face, this motion gives you no facts, no proof, no evidence, no basis. That's just a bold-faced statement. I mean, of course, we all know we're not.
I was going to say,
a rock.
They have attached to other motions tons of social media posts. They've made this argument in the past. The judge has agreed with them. The state has agreed with them. They have done this 20 times in motions to seal, motions for confidentiality, motions to have the hearings sealed, motions to get the cameras out, fighting with the media. So they have attached a lot of this in other motions as well.
Right. But you know what they should have done? Again, just me. They should have said, they should have said, see motion for this, see motion for that. They don't refer to anything in this motion. And it really is a very vanilla motion with just a lot of legalese and a lot of talk without evidence.
But inflammatory pretrial publicity is one of the main reasons for a change of venue.
If it affects the jury pool, there, just because you have inflammatory evidence, I've seen plenty of juries selected where you ask people in the jury pool, how many of you read the newspapers? And 20% raise their hands and 80% don't. How many of you know this? How many of you know that? You'd be surprised at how many people don't watch the news on television or don't watch social media and really don't know what's going on. So just because it's inflammatory doesn't mean you can't find a jury pool or a juror.
And I will say that we've had trials where we've had to individually voir dire jurors because of pretrial publicity. So there are ways around it. It's very difficult sometimes. And sometimes you think, how is it possible that jurors have not heard about this case? But it is possible.
Well, Peter, look at you. Look at your program. I mean, you cover some of the most salacious, one of the most high-profile cases around. That's why you do that, and yet they're able to find jurors. I mean, you know example after example.
They have so far, but sometimes they have changed venue as well in some of these cases.
Sometimes they do, right?
Okay, the next one is allegations made about Mr. Kohberger to the public by media that will be inadmissible at his trial. So how unusual is it to have the media basically convicting the defendant, making allegations that he's an incel and that he's done this, but he's had to have done this before. He's got the profile of a serial killer. Because he's a criminology major, he must have tried to create the perfect crime. Just all this stuff that's already been put out there by the media and allegations made. How unusual is that? How much do you think that'll factor into changing venue?
It happens in every high profile case. And as time goes on, the way social media is, and you don't have just newspaper journalists reporting it or TV journalists. You're going to have all sorts of things come out that are unproven, that are speculation, that are wild. Again, every single case has stuff come out in the press, in the media, that never comes into evidence.
The next one is the small size of the community. This one I do think kind of cuts in their favor, because the bigger the city, the bigger the county, the bigger the community, the less likely to need to bus in other jurors. But because this one's so small, I do think that there's a higher probability of them needing more jurors. What do you think about that?
I think that you're correct. But again, they have to prove that community cannot come in, or you can't get a fair jury out of that community. They're going to
And
have
how
to
do you
prove
prove
that.
How do you prove you can't get a fair jury out of that community?
Well, the way you do, no, two ways, actually, the two biggest ways. Number one, if you have a lot of money, you hire these polling companies that go through the community and take surveys. And you bring to the judge and say, we've surveyed, 1,000 people in the community. 99% of them say, not just say they've read something, but 99% of them say they've made a decision, or they believe he is guilty, or they're leaning toward guilt, so that they can't give him a fair trial. So that's one way you do it. Again, in those cases where people have a lot of money, they conduct those surveys so that they can show the statistics. The other way you do it, and the way judges do it, judges have done it in my case, where I've had change of venues, I would say in every one of them, what the judge did is he tried to select a jury first,
Exactly.
brought the community in, started selecting a jury, and then discovered there's just no way that they can get a jury in this case, people that are unbiased, and therefore we have to change venue. But at least he tries first. And that happens in most cases, I believe, where the judge will try first.
That's the only way I've seen it really done, except there is kind of a interesting thing happening in Murdaugh. Again, another case that we're covering, where they were going to have to go to trial on the financial crimes before he pled to them. And I think this is when this was. I know it happened in Murdaugh. And they sent out jury questionnaires like we send out to all jurors before we pick them for a trial. But they put in specific questions. Have you heard about this case? Have you watched it? Have you already made up your mind about it being guilty? Did you watch the other trial? Have you followed it? And like a huge percentage of potential jurors had already said, yes, I watched. Yes, I made up my mind. Yes, I think he's guilty. And so they used those juror questionnaire answers in their motion to change venue. So there was some stuff that they got beforehand that they were able to use. That's kind of a combination. It's not paying a polling company, and it's not a judge trying to pick a jury, but it's kind of both. You're kind of polling the potential jurors with juror questionnaires, showing it to the judge that these are the answers they would give, so we don't need to waste our time trying to pick a jury. And then it falls out as, this is a reason why we can't pick a jury here.
Right. And again, it does this. It accomplishes the same purpose as polling, where you get a cross section. You're able to show the judge that cross section shows it's going to be impossible to seat a jury in this case, and therefore you have to move out. I guess you can keep going through it, and then we'll talk some more about other things.
Yeah. So the last two are the salacious nature of the alleged crimes, which you kind of talked about. This is not a good argument because there are horrible crimes happening all the time. And just because your crime is really bad doesn't mean there's more likely to change venue. The severity of the charges, again, I'm not aware that is more of a reason to change venue, because your charges are more severe than if it's a high profile, you can't find an unbiased juror for a less severe charge. I think that you would still get a change of venue unless, I don't know something. Does the death penalty make it any more likely that they should get to change venue?
No, in fact, to really think about it, the charge itself has nothing to do with the change of venue. Think. Nothing. You can have somebody charged with a misdemeanor petty theft that can have so much pretrial publicity that you have a change of venue. It's not the charge that really does it.
Okay, what else did you want to say about the change of venue?
Well, I was just going to say, again, realize that people just knowing about the case or people reading about the case, a lot of pretrial publicity, that in itself, and that's why you have a jury, at least you start to pick a jury in a lot of these cases, because you ask these people, did you read about it? Yes. Do you know about it? Yes. Have you made up your mind? No, I haven't made up my mind. Can you be a fair and impartial juror? Yes, I can be a fair and impartial juror. Those are the key questions, not whether they've read anything. Because, all your jurors, you don't want jurors that have lived under a rock their whole lives. Those aren't the kind of people
Or
you
don't
want.
know how to use a computer,
Or
yeah,
don't know how to
stuff like
think.
that.
You want people that can think
Mhm.
as jurors, that can make a reasoned decision from the evidence and can be wise in what they see and what they hear from the witness stand. So those are the kind of people you want as jurors. So those jurors do know something about what's going on in the world. But can they keep an open mind? Have they made a decision yet? That's the question you really have to find out.
And that's what they asked in Murdaugh specifically, if they had made up their mind which way or the other, and they weren't necessarily waiting for the evidence to come out. So my opinion is on this case that I do think they're going to grant. I think the judge is going to grant this motion. I do think he's going to expand the jury pool. I don't know if he's going to dismiss all Latah County jurors, but I definitely think they're going to try to pull from other counties. I think they're going to try to make sure they can find a fair and impartial jury. And I think it'd be really hard because of the publicity, because of the accusations and things the media is saying, the inadmissible evidence, and how much it's pushing for such a small community and the interconnectedness of the University of Idaho to the victims and things like that. That's my opinion. What do you think?
Well, I think it's, first off, in most cases, it's very hard to get a change of venue. Even if you have a lot of pretrial publicity, even if it really is a heinous crime, it's still very difficult. I think that the judge may bring some additional people in just so he can have a bigger jury pool, but I don't think he's going to rule that he has to have, quote, a change of venue. I think he just can expand the jury pool. Now, you remember, and I think it was on this case, we had a program where we were talking about the circus atmosphere, and we talked about other cases in history that have had so much pretrial publicity, yet they were still able to seat a jury and they were still able to get a verdict. So it remains to be seen whether in this small town you can seat a jury of people that are going to be unbiased and give them a fair trial.
This is one of the wilder combinations of small town and huge publicity that I can remember. And I'll also say that there have been lawyers after the trials are over still saying that they were not able to pick a fair jury because of the publicity. So regardless of if they were or not able to get to a verdict, it's always a complaint from the lawyers that lose if this type of situation comes up. Not that that's a big reason to change venue, but we've seen the motion for change of venue happen in lots of cases, and it's usually denied. Most of the times it is denied. This is one that I think is kind of the perfect storm, but that remains to be seen. Thanks for popping on real quick with me to go through this. I appreciate it as always. And to everybody watching and listening, thank you guys for joining us. Hit that like button on your way out. Leave a comment. Tell us what you think. Do you think they'll change venue, and why? Which of those reasons did you find the most compelling? Until next time, we're out of here. Thanks for watching another episode of The Lawyer You Know. If you enjoyed the episode, please hit the thumbs up and share with your friends who may be interested here on YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. And don't forget to check out the Lawyer You Know podcast with new seasons dropping every quarter. If you have a case you want to talk to us about, if it's a personal injury case, wrongful death, catastrophic injury, car accident, or slip and fall case, please email us at lawyeryouknow@gmail.com. And of course, all these links I just mentioned are included in the description below on this episode and every episode. So until next time, this is Peter Tragos, The Lawyer You Know.